Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. Each week, our hosts will be interviewing local, regional, and national business leaders to give you an inside peek into how they lead their business to success in the ever-competitive business climate.
Welcome to another episode of Monday Morning Coffee. Today, I have a very special guest. His name is Calvin Beeke. He rents homes and flips homes in Grand Rapids, Michigan. He owns a portfolio of about 150 units while flipping 30 to 40 properties a year, which is a lot. His career began in marketing and the hunting industry, and after selling his marketing firm, he shifted full-time into real estate. He loves hunting, hanging out with his wife and his 3 little kids, and job site problems, believe it or not. Calvin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so you and I actually met through my brother, who is a avid hunter, and I think something about, I think it was cryptocurrency, right? When there was the Bitcoin craze in 2017, something like that. Right. And as we're recording this today, it is September 8th, 2020. Bitcoin is now once again below 10,000. So that's not working out.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm glad to have you on the show. Tell us, before we get into it, before we get into exactly what you're doing now, could you tell us a little bit more about what you did before in the marketing and hunting industry?
Yeah, so the marketing space, I guess, was competitive. I remember taking a class at college. I was in my second year of college, and the marketing prof never once in the entire time of the class listed social media. And this was 2010, at which he certainly should have been. He was using a pretty old curriculum. I was just getting into it. So just started out with a few businesses who could use that help. We put together a hunting video production, and we did our own marketing, and it just kind of, certain businesses stumbled upon our marketing. I think we grew to 30 or 40,000 fans, and they said, hey, can you do that for us? So it was very informal at first. It was my year after high school, so I was 19 at the time in college. And I think when I was 19, we landed Kawasaki engines as a client. And not so much the exciting part of Kawasaki, the motorcycles and such. It was the, everything like for example, an X-Mark mower, would have a Kawasaki engine. So it was that line, the mowers and the green space. So they became a big client. We landed some other big clients, some firearms retailer, just a number of larger clients, and then that kind of took off. So we had a little hunting production that never really made that much money per se, but it got us a lot of hunting clients. So we really stayed a marketing firm in the outdoor space. So as the years progressed, that market became, increasingly competitive, but we had our little niche with video production and social media in the marketing space. So
school, did I take it? Did you drop out? Did you continue going, or was it?
Yeah, I did drop out. We ended up winning a business contest actually, which got us some seed money, which it wasn't earmarked for scholarship. So we actually kind of took that money and ran and went full time into. So when I quit, it was kind of the usual plan was I'm going to quit, focus on my business for a year, and then go back. And that never happened.
And who was the we?
So I got 2 years of college under my belt, and that's it.
Who was the we? Was it your buddy? Just a friend?
I had a business partner. It was very short lived. We had a good relationship. He went on he actually worked for Kawasaki. He interned there and ended up working for them in sales. And then later, actually, when I sold the business, I sold the marketing firm. We were looking for more people, and I recommended him to my management. We actually rehired him later on. So he still works actually for that marketing firm, which I no longer have anything to deal with.
Got it. And it was just you two that started the marketing firm. Is that correct?
Yep.
That's amazing. So you were what, like 20 at that point then? Or
yeah, I think 19 when we started the marketing firm. Yeah.
And any business experience before that? Does your mom and is that where you got this entrepreneurial streak in you? Is your mom, dad, family?
My parents are both very learned, but not business-like. My dad is PhD. He's a president of a seminary and a pastor, And my mom has her master's in teaching. So no, there was really no business background. And both my grandpas were carpenters. So there was a little bit of the, maybe the real estate, construction type element. But no, it's just, I don't know. I would say probably had three high school buddies who we would get together for Applebee's at 9 p.m. because we had no money and had half off apps, and then we'd go and back and hot tub at my parents' house, and that was kind of we would just bounce ideas off each other. So that was kind of the entrepreneurial mindset. All of them own multi-million-dollar businesses today, and all in our 20s. I think the first one of us just turned 30, and so it was kind of, I think it was that camaraderie where we were all starting from nothing together, having good ideas, and a lot of work put into those ideas. So, yeah,
that's cool. I don't think your story is too irregular, though. I mean, are you familiar? If you're familiar with Robert Kiyosaki, it's his whole thing is rich dad, poor dad. His dad was, and not to disparage dads or anything like that, but his dad was very learned, and then he kind of did the opposite. And I think a lot of people do the opposite of what their mom and dad are doing, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
And it sounds like maybe you're on that path. I'm still really interested about this whole, how you started up the marketing from at that young of an age. I just interviewed Spike Cohen, and he kind of sounds like he did the same sort of thing. It was just not that it fell into his lap, but he was at the right place at the right time with the right idea. What platforms were you using to get that kind of growth in social media?
Yeah, I would equate that, from the age and experience. Obviously I didn't have much experience getting that. I read, I want to say it's, I don't know who wrote it, Outliers. Is it Malcolm Gladwell? Is that who wrote Outliers? I think, who described a few of those. Bill Gates and some of these other guys who, right place, right time. That, primarily then, I mean, this is basically 10 years ago. Primarily it was Facebook was the platform we were using. So we weren't the best at, say, web design. We kind of wanted a full service. That was probably the wrong approach at the time. We probably should have just stuck to what we were good at. But I think we were the best for a few companies in creating effective ad campaigns through Facebook. So it wasn't that hard to navigate back then. It just was so new and it was changing every day. So we just kept up with the changes and just got really good ROI. I remember there was a hunting outfitter that we got as a client, and we put them on. Our services were honestly way too cheap to begin with. We had like $500 a month was our standard package, and so we got this hunting outfitter, and I think within like a few months we just skyrocketed their sales to the point where all of their slots were filled for the next couple of years, and they quit our services. So we were left with a lot of businesses that we helped grow where we really didn't make much money off of. So that was just bad, confusion on what to charge for the service. But people weren't used to paying for that type of service either. So it was kind of, I think they were of the mindset of let's hire some college kids for cheap and get this done. And so
they did get it done.
It was good. It was good dealing with people and customers.
Yeah. When you started that first business, was it very organic in the sense that like, maybe you didn't have a business coach, some people did you even have a business plan, or did you just jump into it? And like, even when like registering the trade name with the Secretary of State, accounting and all of that, how did that all work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we went through those steps. There was some benefit to college in the sense that there was a college prof. He was the same college prof who I don't even remember his name honestly, but he encouraged me to buy my first rental home, and which I also did at basically the same age there. So I was kind of doing the two, I had those two visions, but at the time all my energy was poured into the marketing firm. It was kind of, again, just the perfect storm of timing. I think looking back at it now, it was like, I took some steps as a 19. I will say people, when you're doing things as a 19-year-old, people are almost a little forgiving of mistakes, and, your accountant dealing with you and your clients dealing with you. So I'm not saying to take advantage of that, but there's a little bit of, when you're 19-year-old starting a business where people are, if they see the passion, and they see you trying to, charge a fair weight and fair, wage and give them a good service where they're apt to take it. So
tell us about the transition out of that firm then, and what made you decide to move into what you're doing now, where you're doing rentals and you're flipping homes, and then what was it like to sell off you're part of your company?
Yeah, so that was exciting and not I didn't anticipate selling it. I didn't have plans to sell it, and a company approached me that it's called Winalda Packaging, and they had a line of they're a packaging firm. The owners were hunters. They're coming out with this hunting brand. So we sat down and kind of pitched them on a full scale marketing package. They wanted everything from us to go to trade shows for them, do a full marketing package, and it was so big that they would have at that point become our biggest client. Instead of becoming our biggest client, they said, "What if we just purchase your whole company?" And I hadn't considered it, wasn't against it. I was growing the rental portfolio on the side. I didn't realize at that time how much I wanted, as I did 2 years later from that point, that I wanted real estate to really be my, identity, my investments, and whatnot, and realize how much I loved real estate. I knew I loved it at the time, but I also loved marketing, the hunting industry and whatnot. So I made the decision at that point, got an offer from them. There was a little bit of negotiation, and then I committed to sell the company. So I worked for them for 2 years at a much better salary than I was paying myself at the time. So it was a good experience, really good experience to see that, because I'd never worked for a company of a larger corporate size, to see the organization, see the structure, see HR, see accounting, handle payroll. I was still in some level of management there. So I got to deal with a lot of things that, probably gave me a good skill set. So I'm very happy that I got to be employed as a manager for a couple of years before leaving that and then shifting full-time into flipping and rentals.
Yeah. So let's jump into that now. Cause I know there was I think I messaged you on Facebook when I saw you post a really interesting, and to ask you to be on the show because you posted such an interesting photo one day. I'll describe it to you and you'll probably remember it. I think it was you and your buddies on the porch, and it was something about like, this is where it all started. And I think it was maybe your first rental. So tell me about that. Like, how did you were able to somehow get a loan when you were self-employed? For a lot of people, that's difficult. I don't know if you were, if you had the prowess enough, like some other people do, to make themselves a W-2 or a W-2 right away, start paying themselves a salary or anything like that. So talk about how you got into it. I mean, for you to have 150 units at this age and flipping 30, 40 properties a year, first of all, the energy, but unpeel it for us. How do you start all that?
Yeah. So again, the timing, 2000, I would equate timing even much more in this sense. My cousin hit the timing better. He was graduating college in 2008, I want to say, and he started buying in 2008 as the downturn. Grand Rapids got hit hard here. I mean, we just got smoked. $100,000 homes became $20,000 homes. So wow. Thankfully today we've made a just unbelievable economic recovery. That that $20,000 home is now worth $150,000. And that's in pretty, the rougher areas of town. I think your average home here is probably about, $240,000 to $280,000. So we're nowhere near a Denver or New York. It's very moderate pricing here still. Everybody here thinks it's crazy high, but it's not high on a national level. So, to work back the numbers, I think I had $8,000 going in that first home purchase. My dad loaned me $18,000, so I went in with $25,000. The purchase price was $21,000. Needed a little bit of fix up. I thought it needed a little bit. I ended up needing to replace all of the plumbing throughout the whole house. So it hit me. That house hit me one after another. I picked the worst tenants. I did the stupidest things. That house just beat me up. So I was sending money from the marketing firm into investing in that house for a period of about 2 years. The money I would make would, go into that house. So I made every mistake in the book and in tenants and rehab on that house. So that was 2009. I purchased that. I think we bought one in 2010, one in 2011. And when I say we now here, this is a different high school buddy that I'm buying these with. The first one I bought by myself, the second couple I bought with him. And then 2013, we stumbled across it was a high school teacher who had eventually worked himself into buying rentals and apartment buildings. And he sold us a portfolio of 17 units. So up until that time, it was all private funding. So it was that was our first bank loan on that. So it was really easy to get private funding. It was a lot of people had, done very poorly in the stock market up until that point and weren't really trusting the return. I don't think they knew how good it would bounce back over the years, but they were very happy with, 8 or 10%. So we were borrowing money at 8 or 10% from private investors, whoever we could find. So we were not afraid to ask for money. We would go to different people. So, and we've, to date, we've obviously always repaid back every single loan, and it's been good. So we still do a little bit of private funding today, mostly on the flips, but otherwise we're all, usually commercial loans on portfolios and apartment buildings.
Are you glad you picked the worst house and the worst tenants to begin with, so that you would the lessons got shook out right away?
I am. I think I would have made those mistakes over time too. Would have been maybe nicer to make those mistakes on home 3 or 4. I don't know what possessed me to stick with it. I was faced in 2 years, about a 2-year point, I was faced with the dilemma of either I got to sell this home or I have to hire a property manager. And I hired a property manager, and things went well from that point on.
Yeah, is that one thing that you do now? I mean, again, I got to stress that if owning 150 units, my wife owns a little over a dozen now, and that's for her. It's a lot of work, and she doesn't have a property manager. Is that how you're able to then, segment things so that you're able to do the flips, or 30 to 40 a year? I mean, that's an incredible amount.
Yeah, the flipping right now is like my full-time job. So, I'm on the job site probably 3 or 4 days a week for only a short amount of time. So mostly I'm just doing the acquisitions and the selling. So I'm not an agent. I have an agent that we recently hired who works full-time for me. And then I use a lot of other local agents. There's agents that bring me deals, and then on the backside, I go and list the house with them as well. So, so hiring a property manager, I don't manage one unit myself. All 150-ish units are managed there's 3 different property managers that we hired. It's a little bit geographic. We own a lot. We own 54 units in Kalamazoo, a town an hour south of us. We have a different manager for there. And then I like two property managers here in Grand Rapids. So I hire, use them both here locally.
If people are listening to this and they are interested in doing what you're doing, getting into real estate, owning real estate, getting that return on rentals, and then also flipping stuff, so you have this other stream of income. How would you recommend people get into that? I mean, obviously you need a little bit of capital, but what are the things that if you could go back in time basically and tell yourself, like, here's the best way to start this thing?
Yeah, I have tons, lots of people asking me about it currently. And I would say, like, let's take the rentals path here first, because I think that's the safer, approach. It's definitely the more long-term approach. My first piece of advice would be keep your W-2 income, and get the financing and buy as much as you. I mean, there's nothing safer than, this is government related, so maybe I shouldn't say there's nothing safer, but in theory, there's nothing safer than a 30-year government-backed loan at 3%, right? So buying rentals, I don't want to say overpay, but I'm almost going to say it. As long as the numbers make sense and you can cash flow, be willing just go buy a rental with your W-2 income on a 30-year note, with low money down. It's very hard to go wrong on that. So a lot of people are trying to save to make sure they get into the multifamily, the duplex or quad unit. I'd almost say it's simpler to just start with a single family. Our best tenants reside in single family homes, or apartment buildings in nicer areas. I would say the most difficult tenants, and I don't necessarily hear people saying this today. For me, the most difficult tenants we deal with are in small, like duplexes and 3 units, 4 units in, worse areas. So we have a lot of that. We've since sold a lot of that. People tend to, I view that as one of the most overvalued areas. I would pick single families in moderate areas and then apartment buildings pretty much wherever. We have some low end and some medium end. We don't own anything extremely high end. There's a very hip liberal community called Easttown in Grand Rapids. We own quite a bit there. That's very high rent, very safe urban area. So for people loving the urban feel, the brick roads and the quaint, small town restaurants that's within the city, though, that people really love those areas. So we own a lot in that space too. So we've since sold a lot of our stuff in the rougher areas and kind of, getting ready for whatever market shift we're going to encounter at some point and trying to be prepared for that. So in terms of flipping and how to get into it, I'd say it's harder to get into it right now. If you're the one doing the labor, I would not be afraid to say, either go borrow private money or it's kind of painful to go through the whole mortgage process on a home you're just going to sell 4 months from now. So I would really seek out private money. Don't be afraid to borrow it, at 8 or 10% and make a flip happen. So numbers are much harder to project on flips. It's much easier to, go over budget. So the flips is definitely more in depth. I got lucky, but that was very different from my rental experience. I had the first few flips go extremely well. I kept it very, low cost, low budget and did a really good job. And then I started to take on bigger projects and just started buying like crazy. And as I scaled up, I really lost a lot of the profitability, on hiring a lot of stuff out. And my 2018 was amazing flipping homes. My 2019 tried to just double the volume and didn't go as well as 18. 2020 has just been ridiculous with market up. I don't know what it's up they say it's up like 8% here. I want to say it's up like 15% here. It's just crazy. We're having every single home is going for 20, 30 grand over asking. So that covers a multitude of mistakes, but we've been able to really in marketing for buying, we've been able to, get a lot of deals in this market and therefore make profitability while doing volume, make it happen. So
what are you looking for when you're trying to identify a good home to flip? What are some things that you're looking for that maybe are red flags and says this is not a good property to buy? And what are some of the things that indicate this is on the better side of things, and we can actually make this profitable, and this is a good project?
Yeah, so it varies so much. I would say our bread and butter is buying homes, and this is going to be different for every town. Our bread and butter is buying homes for around the 100,000 mark that are just a little bit too big of a project for small time flippers and taking these homes to the $200,000 to $250,000 price point. So for us, we like that price point because it's when you borrow $100K, even at 8 or 10%, it's a amount you can stomach paying that interest every month. The holding costs are not high. The property taxes are not high. So from a very general numbers perspective, we like that. We also this is very simple, but we put a lot of that. We stage every single home that we flip, virtually every single. If we do the project, we stage it. So I say there's two kind of two sectors. One, we go for a finished flip, and we also just will buy homes that are, we believe, undervalued and just clean them up and list them. So we'll do just trash outs and then just list properties. Often those you're only making between 0 and 20,000. Sometimes you get lucky on the higher side. Sometimes you make close to 0, but I try to buy at safe numbers where we're not going to lose. And then the ones we do the projects to, those we, really finish to a very final degree and do a full stage and make them presentable and living. So I think sometimes we spend $1,000 on the stage and get, 1,000% ROI on that staging investment.
Very interesting. Have you come up with a formula? And I'll describe one that's similar that I've seen. There's a couple other developers and that we've worked with over the past few years. Some of them are very good friends now. And what they do is, they've read some books and it's like, okay, same paint color, same cabinets, same finishes. You just keep repeating that. Are you following in that formula too, or not?
We are completely. We have not ordered a different interior paint color for an entire year. So we've painted, the last 40 homes have been one color every single wall. We used to do, accent walls and I mean, we're down to such a system. So when we do luxury homes, we'll do a little bit more customization with the kitchens and whatnot. But for the most part, it's getting the same vanities, the same tubs, surround kits, the same black hardware, same black hinges. I mean, we've got a whole process. So one of the ways we've been able to scale flipping and volume is I have my own payroll team, but I also have 3 different, what I call 50-50 guys. And what they are is they're managers who are not on my payroll. They're essentially 1099 contractors, and they flip homes for me, but together they're essentially a business partner, but not on paper. And they handle the entire project, and they do not get paid, $1 as the whole project goes along. So I find the deal for them. I fund the deal. They manage the project. They have their own. They have their own business and their own employees, and they do the entire project. We take all of their expenses, including their employees, expenses. And the day that property sells, then we do a 50-50 split of the profits. So we've been able to do about 2/3 of our volume right now is through those 50-50 flippers. So my team, my payroll team, only does about a dozen homes on the year, and the other 35 homes we're going to do this year are all through the either just the buy the home, do the trash out and list, or the 50-50 flipping. So there's really those are very low risk, because I kind of share the risk with that partner who's putting all that time in for free, so to speak, until that property sells, and now we're guaranteed a price, and we split the profit. So these guys are doing ridiculously good right now. They're making well over 6-figure incomes on fairly basic management of job sites with a couple guys. So it's that's that for them. They're happy. I'm happy. It's been a good run. So I've been doing that for a couple of years with those guys on the 50-50 flipping.
Yeah. Let's talk about
that was quite the tangent from the question you asked, but that's kind of our business. And they all follow the same. They all kind of have their own model. We all have a spreadsheet. Mm-hmm. For example, we get all of our faucets and sinks off of Amazon. So, and then everything, probably about 70% of our stuff we purchase through Lowe's. It all gets delivered to the job site. So we submit orders that are over $1,500 to Lowe's. They run it through their, whatever their Lowe's Pro pricing.
The bedroom, yep.
And it usually comes back between 20 and 40% off. So every single, fridge, range, lumber, front door, every single thing we buy is usually about 20 to 30% off less than the price that you see it for retail at Lowe's. So that's a major leg up on, most of the small flippers flipping 2 to 4 homes a year who kind of don't do their due diligence on what they can get for, pricing goods.
Yeah, definitely. No, you're pretty sharp. At some point you should, you could teach a course on this. You could monetize in that way. That'd be another leg up for you for sure. Very impressive, Calvin. This has been awesome. Let's shift gears a little bit to, this is all just amazing information for people and everything. So I really appreciate you sharing it. Moving ahead, you talked a little bit about how your hearing averages are moving about 8%, but really you're seeing on your end maybe 15%. What has COVID led to any of that? And I've been clamoring on for months on end now after kind of all the protests and the riots broke out, and even before that, what was happening in the major cities. Are you seeing people come in to your area trying to flee these urban areas? Is that maybe what's putting the pressure up, or how has that all affected your business?
Yeah, so we live in a city or a county, I guess, of about 1 million people. So I would call us a mid-sized city. We have skyscrapers downtown and a huge medical climate. We're much more diversified in terms of careers than we were. 2008, we were largely manufacturing. There's just been a total shift to healthcare, one of the best children's hospitals in the nation. So in terms of what COVID did, we definitely had some, job loss. We have tons of people moving from Chicago. I would say 1 in every 5 flips we sell right now is I'm selling to a couple moving from Chicago. I don't know. I'm sure that's not the trend for the whole market. I think it's because we sell very finished products. So they're seeing that listing of a perfectly finished home and thinking, okay, I can move from Chicago, move right into this home. I don't have to worry about anything. So, I believe that's one of the maybe, flipping is viewed as, and I view flipping as maybe not such a long-term scalable thing for a long time. I've always been concerned about the scalability and the almost legitimacy of flipping and just kind of riding this market wave. But more and more, I'm starting to believe that flipping is in a sense here to stay. I mean, you just see so much so much demand for the trades and the price of trades. And we have things like an in-house electrician, who's on payroll. So we're just able to get things done, so much more cost effectively than if, say, a homeowner was to do all these things and then be able to make a really good margin on that. So, I think in light of the COVID, I mean, our supply is just nothing here. I mean, we've got a million people in our county, and we've got like 1,000 available homes. So, on the market, new construction, nothing is keeping up, more building permits being pulled than ever before. So it's just pure craziness. I don't, it's kind of weird to, be sitting here in the cold Rust Belt when everybody talks about how hot, say, the Southwest, market is. And it's just insane here. So I don't think I'm speaking for all of Michigan. Detroit's not doing as well. So just this west side of Michigan, by Lake Michigan, the Lake Shore, people I think from Chicago are moving here and other, urban areas to just enjoy the Lake Shore and the community that's here. So it's very, we keep on Forbes, we keep getting, rated one of the most cost-effective or affordable places to live with still some pretty good salaries. So it's very normal here for, somebody to make 50,000, a household income to be 50, 60,000 a year and be able to own a home and survive just fine.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great dynamic to have for sure. Especially if a lot more people are working remote. I mean, then they're really cashing in if they come from a coast and they move to where you guys are at. Where do you see yourself moving in the future? And I don't mean physically, but I mean with your business. Would you ever do any ground up developments? Is that something you've considered? Because you talk about the supply, and obviously that's a problem, but it's also very helpful for you. Yeah.
Well, part of it is I watch what you do, Lance, and I see some of your images and see some of your, one thing we don't do right now is work with clients. So there's a part I miss about that. I miss kind of doing these custom, suite projects where you have a budget and you're able to do some of these really cool things, because everything we can't do anything special. We got to stay within this kind of scope of everybody likes it. So we're very, we joke about it. We're very Pinteresty, staying with, we do a lot of like just modern farmhouse, a lot of white siding, black windows, wood front door, black front door, almost every house gets a black roof with black drip edge, and just these little things that just make a nice modern looking house, that kind of cookie cutter, but textbook, thing. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Every time I look at building an apartment building, the price is, so much higher than what it was before. I looked at it. We've looked at everything, self-storage. I think if there's one area I see myself going into, it's going to be commercial real estate. So my cousin, who's about 5 years older than me, is my mentor. So when he was buying, there was a stretch there in 2009 and 10 where he was buying a rental every single week until he accumulated about 200 rentals. So he found one investor to do that with and bought rental after rental home for, between $20,000 and $40,000 a piece. Well, the appreciation was crazy over the years. So he just finished selling off every single rental this year. And he just, rental after rental, he would 1031 into like light industrial, strip mall, commercial, office, mostly high-end office. So I've seen him do that, and his life has gotten a lot simpler with commercial real estate, tons of sale leasebacks. He was just telling me the other day about a 20-year sale leaseback with a food company that's just been a consistent, company. So things like that. So I could see myself doing some, sale leaseback, commercial investment. I've never been into construction. I think I would like to. That part's exciting. But I don't have I don't even have my builder's license, so it's one of those things where I just haven't done it. So we've been really good at, fixing residential. So I see us just continuing to do what we're doing and maybe dabble in some commercial investment.
Yeah. Fair enough. It's a lot to chew. It's a lot to bite off. And why try to fix something if it's not broke? And I mean that literally. Like, your business model is clearly working for you. So bravo to that. Like, if you're not asking for the advice, but I'm telling you, it's development is a whole different animal. And for us, it worked out okay this last time. We got out. We got in, we got out right before the market crashed and all of that. And it was a good experience, and it gives us all kind of clout. But profitability wise, honestly, you're on a better track. So last question.
It's kind of funny because I'm looking at what this market's going to do, and I keep telling, people come to me advice, and I tell them, I've never been through a market. Like, I keep trying to prepare for this, but everything's been up. I graduated high school in 2009. If you're ready to come out in 2009, guns a-blazing with in riding this, all our mistakes were covered. We bought duplexes in the hood that we rather wouldn't have. Well, by the time we figured out we didn't want them, it was 2 years later and they were worth twice as much. So, everything's kind of been covered by that market rising. So we'll see what happens here, and curious to hear your thoughts on it too. But I'm always picking everybody's brain, people who've been through a recession or two, and trying to figure out, what might happen here.
This one's weird. Because what it is in my opinion is, and I would consider you obviously in this community of the AEC community, the architectural engineering construction community, because that's real estate no matter what. We had a 50% crash last time, right? And from an employment standpoint, 50% of the people lost their jobs. Well, all of a sudden this time, it's the restaurant industry and the leisure industry. Those are the people that have lost the 50% market share, and they'll come back. So, and then you couple that with the numbers are real of people moving out of these urban areas or from the coast or from like Chicago, where, we have clients from Chicago that were, one of them we're building a house for right now. And the main reason he moved is the taxes. They're just insane property taxes up there. He's like, the amount of taxation that is affecting, that is versus the just standard inflation of real estate value. All of a sudden in Chicago, it's like upside down, and these people are having to leave. So yeah. I don't know. And then the election's coming up, and how's that going to affect everything? A lot of it feels like for us anyway, on the ground here, almost a repeat of 2016. And then, you look at the stock market and how people are, still very bullish on the real estate market. It seems like we could have another repeat, but eventually that house of cards seems like, I'm with you. I'm very conservative when it comes to looking at the market and the indicators and everything. And at some point there's got to be a pretty big crash. The stock market's down like crazy today. I'm losing all kinds of money. I'm not up today. But who knows? It's so weird because the bulls, what if the bulls come back in October? So I don't know. That's probably a whole different topic for another episode. I got one last question for you. And the question is, if you could go back to 10 years now to when you first started and knowing all the lessons that you learned throughout the way, what is one piece of advice that you would give yourself? And it's always a tough one. I don't even know what my answer is.
So, I see a way I see a path now where I could own 1,000 rental units now, and I don't. So I would counsel myself on that path of, I spent so much time, just focusing on the small stuff. Like, to so many, I'm not saying networking is bad, but so many networking events. I'd spend so much time an analysis and, research that was just pointless, So I think I was definitely a go-getter. I don't know why I said I'll buy one rental and see how it goes for 2 years. That makes no sense. I mean, you should buy 10 rentals and see. But just looking back, I guess I see why I did some of the things I did, but I see a path where I could have owned 1,000 rentals. So, and I see some of my, friends dabble at getting into it, and they've just been dabbling, about getting into it for the past 5 years, just saying, hey, I'm going to buy rentals when the market crashes. And man, if they could have bought rentals in 2016 when they first thought about buying rentals, they would be doing really well. So it's just an ability to get things done. I think I'm still struggling with business efficiencies that need to get perfected. I guess that always is a growth. I'm still there's so much growth that can happen and should happen. And I look back at the lessons I just learned last year with doing so many, failing at a bunch of high-end flips that I thought were going to be, okay, this is how we differentiate ourselves from the market. And we go high-end and then we're selling homes for $700,000 or $800,000. And I'm so glad I learned those lessons last year, because now I feel like we're in a safe spot with COVID, with the election coming up, where we're doing almost all our homes are between, 200 and 400,000 that we're selling. So there's just always lessons to learn. So,
yeah, absolutely. Calvin, this was an absolute pleasure. If people like what they heard and they're ever up in the area, or somehow they just want to chat with you a little bit and pick your brain or anything like that, where can people find and where can people follow you?
Just hit me up on Facebook, or my email is, if I'm sharing that, it's just calvinbeeke@gmail.com. So just my name @gmail.com. And they can reach me out there. So we don't, despite owning a marketing firm at one point, we have almost no marketing for our business. It's we list on the MLS, and that's our marketing. So
there you go. All right, buddy. Well, have a good day and stay warm up there.
All right. Thanks for your time, Lance.
Yeah.